Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here for another Tao of the day. Just it's. I've been like looking at like for years. If you guys have been listening to me for that long, you'll know that Dr. Rao has been telling me repeatedly. We don't talk about this. Is you can't talk about it and you do it without talking about it. Do it without creating. Like all of that kind of stuff. And I'm coming to a time where both production and consumption are just disgusting to me. I still love doing Tao of the Day, but maybe it's because I'm not yet willing to let go of everything. So Tao of the Day is here today. Maybe it won't be tomorrow. So, but who knows? I do love doing it. I love talking with people about the Tao. I love picking my number. I do love kind of bringing this, but it's not a teaching thing, right? Like I'm 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 increasingly not frustrated, but I'm increasingly interested in not teaching and just kind of being with people. And so here we are on this, Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day it is, and I'm going to do a Tao of the day. If you have a number between 1 and 81, you want to select why 1 and 81 because there's 81 verses in the Tao Te Ching. I have a translation in front of me, and that. That will serve as our starting point. If we want to look at other translations, of course, I have those accessible as well. So, yeah, it's important to have multiple translations of a text. I think um, now, especially that of the Tao, because even though it's all the same. It's not because you are translating it, right? So you are putting yourself in the translation. You are putting the things that you find important in the translation. And with my translation, it's no different. Um, it's all the same. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and read number 7, the wisdom of not having preference. So the title of this right off the bat is what drew me to it. It's the wisdom of not having preference. See, I have this preference right now that I mentioned earlier, this idea that, oh, I'm disgusted by both production and consumption. But maybe if I didn't have a preference as to how things were going to happen, if I didn't have a preference as to how I wanted things to be, or if what I was consuming or what I was producing, and I just allowed it to be as it is. I was talking to someone the other day about producing or publishing my translation of the Tao, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Um, and not that it wouldn't happen, but I just I'm feeling much more that the world is just a place for people to produce garbage. And and my translation of the Tao is better than the world, kind of. And so why should I put it out in the world? This idea of not having a preference. Maybe it goes out in the world, maybe it doesn't. Who cares? It doesn't fucking matter. You know, I don't want to choose to not publish it because I'm like, ah, the world is full of garbage. I don't want to make my translation of the Tao garbage. I don't want to look at it that way because that's judgment, that's preference, right? All of these sorts of things. But this idea that like I'm letting go of doing, I'm letting go of producing, and I'm letting go of all of this consuming as well becomes really important. Even here on wisdom, it's not always great to say, but I don't unless I'm connected with you, I'm not going to spend time listening to you. And I don't think you should spend time listening to me. Um, if you're not engaged or if you're not connected to what I'm saying. I was flipping through and I saw somebody, before I started this, I saw someone talking about Rumi and Lao Tzu. And Lao Tzu, of course, presumably wrote the Tao Te Ching. And so I was going to go on his show and talk to him. But, he was. not engaging in the conversation in a way that I wanted to engage. So I just went on and started my talk. And, here we are like, oh, there's more stuff to consume, right? There's his and there's mine, and there's 6 or 7 or 8 other people talking right now. And here's all of this stuff to consume. And it's all garbage. It's all stupid. Even this. But if you wanted to engage in this stupidity as I'm engaging in this stupidity, you can definitely come up and pick a number between 1 and 81. And I would love to go over the Tao with you. So the wisdom of not having a preference. Tao is infinite. It doesn't grow old or tired. And this is an important line. It doesn't grow old or tired. It is infinite. Here is the difference. If we grow old and tired, because we grow old and tired, we know we're not infinite, but we are Tao, right? Tao is connected to us at all times. So we are infinite. And yet it is that within each of us that is turning from Tao, not that Tao ever disconnects from us, or not that we're ever not connected to Tao, but anytime we turn from Tao, we get older and we get tired. Like Tao is infinite. It doesn't grow old or tired. That means you don't have to grow old or tired. And yet you will, because you can't be completely Tao, because you are always connected to it, and you are always that. But every time you identify with your body, your mind, you are growing old and you are growing tired, because it has no preference for itself. It can always persist. And if you are doing a job and you want to go home at 5, and a project comes in at 4:30, well, all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, this is going to threaten my going home at 5. But if you had no preference for yourself, meaning if you have no preference to go home at 5 or 10 or in 6 weeks or whatever, you just, you could always persist. The tiredness comes when you start thinking, oh, I'm going to lose this. What about my food? What about this? What about my family? What about the promises I've made, and the plans I've made? It's like all of a sudden you have a preference for yourself. Guess who's going to be growing old and tired? If you had no preference for yourself, and even oh, a new project's coming in, so what? So what, I can do it, or so what, I can walk away, and so what, I can lose my job, and so what? Who cares? Just allow that which is happening to happen. And if you just do your work, and then you step away, when you step away, you take a nap, when you take a nap, you sleep, you eat when you're hungry, you sleep when you're tired, and that's it. Have no preference for yourself. Of course, sleeping and eating are things that your body requires, but you have no preference for yourself. It means what you eat, where you sleep, no preference. And by doing that, you can always persist. You can always show up as you are, completely. The master, now in Tao, we talk about the master, and the master is the one who is um, living in accordance with Tao, right? In accordance with the highest request of Tao. The master puts herself last and always finds herself first. That's the thing. A friend of mine, I was working with a team of consultants right now, and I saw an issue with returning some artwork somewhere, and and I brought the question up, just like, hey, this has to be dealt with. And then the next morning, when it was a good time for me to deal with it, I researched the artist, found the artist, contacted the artist, told them when I would be available to get them to pick up their artwork, and dealt with it. And it all took me maybe 20, 25 minutes. We live in a world where you can do that. It's not a problem. And then I reached out to one of the leads in the team, and I said, "Hey, this is all done." And I got a call immediately, and they're like, "You are so efficient." And it's not that I'm efficient. I didn't even recognize that I did anything special. Why? because I had no preference for myself. Whatever, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to reach out to this person and deal with the problem. I'm not going to wait for someone else to tell me to deal with the problem. I'm not going to wait until the problem gets dealt with on its own. I'm just going to do it. The master puts herself last. I was the one that just went ahead and did it all, and always finds herself first. Immediately, as soon as that's done, I am being praised for my efficiency. By being detached from preference, she can give herself to what is and find fulfillment there. That's the thing. Detach myself from my preference of like, oh, I don't want to work today. Or, oh, it's that like I'm not the lead. Why should I reach out to the artist? I don't know anything about this. Why should I do it? And I just do it. And it gets done and it's over. By being detached from preference for myself, I'm able to give myself to what is. What is? This is just here is I have artwork. I need to return it. That's what is. All right. Well, then reach out, return it. You can find fulfillment there. And my fulfillment isn't in my getting praise because I don't even recognize that there is praise needed here. What I recognize is that I am, what I recognize is just that I am doing what I'm doing. And by doing that, I am just fulfilled. It's and I don't even think about it, like that happened yesterday, and so here I am talking about this, and that came to mind, but I didn't even think about it after that. It's just like, oh, it's all done. Okay, all set. Whatever, no big deal. And that's the big deal. That is the big deal. That it is no big deal. NBD. Who cares? Who cares about any of this? It's all stupid. And that's the thing. Like, if you can live your life and just be like, yeah, I'll do whatever. Pick weeds, I'll pick weeds. I'm going to do it for 6 hours, I'll do it for 6 hours. Who cares? I have no preference. I'll pick weeds for a little while. If I get tired, I'll go and I'll get a glass of water, whatever. I'll rest. I'll go back and I'll pick weeds. That's what I'll do. Spend time in my garden, spend time talking to my neighbor. I got no preference. I got nowhere to be, and that's okay. And I can just be here now, do what I do, whatever that happens to be. And you don't have to have a preference. So much of the world thinks you have to have a preference. I was talking to someone this morning just all about this idea that, you know what, the world is not made up of other people, it's made up of you. And so when you have an experience, stop thinking that it's someone else having an experience, right? Stop thinking that, oh, they told me that their mom was killed. Okay, your experience was that someone told you their mom was killed. What did that do for you? How did that engage in your life? Because when you think that, oh, they did this to me, now you're the victim and you're looking outside of yourself saying that they exist. And you know what? They don't. The person who told you that their mom was killed when they were 12 doesn't exist. They, and just like you don't exist for them, they don't exist for you. And so you had an experience of this person telling you that. What did that do within you? Are like, what is happening right now? If you turned this show off and looked out the window, what is happening out that window is a million times more interesting than anything I can say, than anything anyone can produce, than anything any team of people can produce. So you can watch the Marvel movies and you can be amazed at it, or you can look out the window, and out the window, there is more interesting shit happening at any given moment than happens in an entire Marvel movie. Why? Because it's not being created by the pissant minds of people. It's being created by the universe. And when we can witness that, and when we can kind of be present with what is happening, like that which is happening within your body right now is so much more interesting than anything I can say, than anything you can go and entertain yourself with, than anything that can be written, anything that can be said or made or created or anything. Now, that doesn't mean artists don't have an ability to create from intuition, but still there are limits within their body. There are limits all over the place. And you can talk about AI, but AI is created by people, and still AI doesn't have the interest. The AI doesn't have the the ability to be as interesting as what is happening outside of you right now and inside of you right now. Both of those things are infinitely interesting. And if you cannot stay interested in looking at yourself, and if you want to look to other people, look to coaches, look to TV, look to YouTube or the internet or information, podcast, all of this garbage. And there's just a pile of garbage every day, more and more and more stuff. Even this is a pile of trash that, like I'm grateful for you listening to, and I hope you get some benefit from. But really, you are infinitely more important and you are infinitely more interesting than anything that I can say. Now, can you see that? Can you quiet your mind to the degree that you can see that? Now, if you have a preference, for anything, you limit your ability to see yourself and to see how interesting you are, because you're seeing yourself from the space of either having or not having that preference met. Tao, so you are infinite. It doesn't grow old or tired. The moment you start feeling old or tired is the moment you know that there is more work to do to connect with Tao. Because it has no preference for itself, it can always persist. Every preference we have for ourselves contributes to our inability to persist, which contributes to our growth. Growing old, not our growth. We don't. Every preference you have limits your growth, but contributes to your growing old, and it contributes to your growing tired. So every preference that you carry only contributes to your growing old and tired. If you want money, you're growing old and tired quick. If you want a relationship, if you want something other than what is, and your life starts to look in that direction, well then you're not present with yourself. And you're allowing other things to be more interesting than the one thing the universe has that you can be aware of. You. The master puts herself last and always finds herself first. Once again, when you persist, when you can persist, and when you don't have a preference, you become last because everybody else has preference. Trust me, the world is full of people that have preferences to what they want and how they want it. They are going to grow old and tired and die and die miserable. But if you can let go of your preference, you can allow yourself the space to not have preference, you will be putting yourself last. You will allow them to have what they want while you continue to persist, accepting things as they are, and thus always finding yourself first. By being detached from preference, this is how we wrap up. By being detached from preference, she can give herself to what is and find fulfillment there. It is about finding fulfillment in that which you are surrounded by, not changing that which you are surrounded by to fulfill you. You're not that important. You're the only thing that exists in the universe, but you connected to Tao, there is work to be done. And that work is to release yourself from preference, release yourself from wanting, release yourself from all of that. That's really important. So Tao is infinite. It doesn't grow old or tired. Because it has no preference for itself, it can always persist. The master puts herself last, always finding herself first. By being detached from preference, she can give herself to what is and find fulfillment there. Oh, Julie's going to join me. That's so great. I was about to wrap up, but Julie,
Don't do
how
that.
you
Please
doing?
don't do that, Martha. I'm doing really well. And I saw you. I was just in the middle of trying to organise some paperwork. And my phone popped off. So I've got you charged into the mains. But I saw your face and I thought, oh, great. I'd love to talk to Martin John today.
Oh,
I
that's
would
so
just
good.
love to do the day with you. That's what I'm
Yeah, I was
looking
just
for.
talking about how not having a preference keeps us young, and I have to say, you're just getting younger all the time. I mean, every time I see like a new picture of you, I'm just like, wow, you're doing so good.
Yeah, that skin's pretty good, isn't it? It's a skin routine that I do not use.
Good. You don't need it. Like you just like the thing is again, this is beauty's from within, and
I
it
think
affects
so.
everything else, man. Like when
Yeah.
you can love yourself, like you drop years of your
I
life.
agree. I agree with you. I think that what happens is as people get to know the you that is you, suddenly you don't always see them in the same light physically, even. They become very, very enjoying, enjoyful to look at, you know.
Yeah.
That's the thing, yes, because you get every aspect of them instead of just the physicality that you see in front of you. You get every essence of them that you've ever, connected or, felt with them, and it comes
Yeah.
through. Yeah, I think that's what I believe. So, I am in. I've just come out of having a migraine,
Oh,
and you came to mind actually because when I go into a migraine, it lasts usually for about 3 days.
fuck
It's
off.
usually yeah. It's usually stress evoked. This one was driving. I think it was driving at night. And what happens is I have to hide away in a dark retreat of my own making
Yeah.
for 3 days. Yeah. So you came
Hmm.
to mind when I was doing that. I thought,
You know,
Martin.
migraines are interesting. We can talk about that. Like there's energy associated with all of that.
Yeah, and we'll have a chat about that, Martin. I'd
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. And I do think that hypnotherapy can help you there too.
I agree.
You
Yeah.
know, and so the things that I know that are really helpful for migraines, hypnotherapy, acupuncture, and just regular old good old energy work, like just kind of focusing on alignment. And for some reason I'm feeling like does it really hit your right side?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm feeling like it kind of hits right behind the eye, in between the eye and the temple of the right side.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Down
yeah,
into the ear, around
yeah.
the sinus, all one-sided, exactly like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I kind of feel like there's some energy here that just needs releasing, and so that you can stop having those so regularly. And I think there's some things that you might be able to do to make that happen. I would definitely look into acupuncture. If that's something, if needles are not your thing, then you can talk to your fellow hypnotherapist and stuff, and see if they have a protocol for it.
Yeah. I'll get using my peers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, like because like if they don't know a protocol, you can create one, right?
Yes.
Like with
Yeah.
somebody. And the thing is that there's nothing off the table. Like we're creating this stuff all the time anyway. We don't have to always like, oh, this was established. No, just because it wasn't
There's
established
all
doesn't mean
yeah.
it isn't needed.
Every individual is unique. Every individual is unique, and what they bring is unique as well.
That's
It's
right.
the
That's right.
it's the huge threads of the ether, or as we call the Tao.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
different combinations of that
Hmm.
always
Right.
create something new. Yeah, yeah, or
Yeah.
vary. Yeah, so I agree with you there. But I just wanted to hear you, talk to you, and just be in your company for a minute.
Oh, well, let's pick
Um,
a number and let's do some down.
let's do some Tao. I'm gonna go for the number 8.
Oh, I did 7, so we'll do 8 now.
Isn't that amazing?
There
That's
we go.
I didn't
Right
know
off,
that.
right off the bat. Okay, so
Yeah, I
so
didn't know.
8 is be like water. So number
Mm.
7 was the wisdom of not having a preference. Real short, Tao is infinite, doesn't grow old or tired. Because it has no preference for itself, it can always persist. The master puts herself last, always finding herself first. By being detached from preference, she can give herself to what is and find fulfillment there. The only reason I wanted to read that was because you picked eight. And there is a through line when you go in in order.
Mm.
So I want to read number eight after having just reestablished number seven. So here we go. Number eight. Now, and this is coming off the heels of she can give herself to what is and find fulfillment there.
Mm.
Water is humble, always traveling to the lowest place, nourishing without taxing everything along the way. In so doing, it is like Tao. The master aims to resemble water. In thinking, she is simple. In conflict, she is yielding. In governing, she doesn't need to control. In work, she does the obvious thing. In family life, she is continually present. When one can be content with being and not require comparison or praise, it is said they invest in their life by making of it a donation.
Mm. Mm. I like that very much. I like the words in that because it says to me, it says that it is okay just to be me.
Mhm.
It's fine just to be me. I don't have to be a family member. I don't have to push my point across as that labeled family
Yeah.
member, or friend, or teacher, or guidance, or any of that. All of those labels, I can just let them flow, let them go, and just be me. And
Yeah.
that's fine. That's exactly how things should be, really. That is how it is right now. And
You know,
that,
I the thing that really kind of stands out to me is these last lines. And of course, we set ourselves up. So we started and talked a little bit about seven and this idea of like you find fulfillment where you are.
mm,
And then we go into this idea of wherever you are, now that you're finding fulfillment, be humble. Don't think that you have found something that you now need to identify with,
mm,
right? Be humble. And it talks about water, nourishing without taxing everything along the way. This is a big thing. So right now in the world of, coaching and all of this sort of like stuff that we have in the world of like we're taxing people. We're telling people they need to be a certain way. We're
mm,
telling people they need to be healed in some way or shape or form. We're telling people they need to be, you know, tougher or softer or more yielding or more this or
yeah,
more that. But water is humble, always traveling to the lowest place, nourishing without taxing everything along the way. Like, what a great way of being. Imagine if every interaction you had was simply nourishing. And you weren't taxing and you weren't feeling taxed.
yeah,
And so now it talks about how the master does this, how the master can emulate this. In thinking, she is simple.
mm,
In conflict, she is yielding. In governing, raising children or being a grandparent or even managing at your job, she doesn't need to control. In work, she does the obvious thing. She does her work. In family life, she is continually present. Not present as something, but
but
present
just
in this
as,
moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the bit I liked. I
Yeah.
like that in all things as well, even at work.
Yeah.
You know, if you're at work, whatever your role is, just by being present, so you are there at
Right.
that
Which will
particular
present
moment.
to you the obvious thing that needs doing. If you are
Yes,
present and you notice the floor needs scrubbing, you don't not do it or don't ask somebody to do it. You're present with the dirty floor. You're present with the cabinet that's in disarray. You're present.
yeah,
And so you do the obvious thing. What's the obvious thing? That which you recognize while you're being present.
yeah. If it bothers you, if you're looking at the
Well, if
dirty
you
floor and
recognize
you
it,
want it to be clean,
right.
then that's what
Once
you
you yeah,
do.
once you recognize it,
Yeah,
you don't say you don't recognize it, get frustrated and say, "Well, that's Jan's job."
that's right. You just do it.
You do the obvious thing because you're being present.
Yeah,
You don't start splitting hairs because you have an identity to hold on to,
that's it. Yeah.
a title, all of this other stuff. Water is humble, and in order to be like water, we have to do the obvious thing. What is the obvious thing? That which I am aware of is the obvious thing.
Mm,
And when I'm at work and I am aware of something that, because I'm not going to be aware of the floor if it's fine, unless I say, "Oh, the floor looks fucking great." Then the obvious thing is to praise that person that did it. Is to be like, "Hey, thanks for cleaning the floor." That's the obvious thing.
yeah.
And then we come into this last section, when one can be content with being. Imagine that. Imagine being content with being, not being content with being a grandmother, not content with being an employee of this place, with being something that I now have to identify. When one can be content with simply being and not require comparison or praise. Like, you're the CEO, but you're cleaning the floor. Well, yeah, it's the obvious thing to do. And you don't compare me. And maybe I'm not going to do such a good job as the person who's going to come in at night, but this is still what I got to do.
Mm,
There's no comparison. Don't praise me for doing this. Don't praise me for doing, because I am just being.
yeah.
And this is the thing, when you can do that, right? When one can be content with being and not require comparison or praise, it is said they invest in their life by making of it a donation.
Mm. But I like that very much because so many people that I've spoken to often ask, "How will I serve?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is it. That is what you do by just being
Right.
and observing and
And
doing. That's what you do.
now,
You,
there is being, but here is like, we have to, like, there's a little part here that we want to make sure we don't forget. When one can be content with being and not require comparison or praise. So many people that ask the question, "How can I serve?" require comparison or praise.
yeah,
So many people that say, "What can I do?" are asking that question because they cannot be content with being.
yeah.
So those who can be content with being will be donating their entire life to Tao.
From where it came anyway.
Right. Because there is nothing else.
Absolutely.
And then you
Yeah.
just donate. You donate this time. And then, we looked at, like, this is why I read about having a preference. Because when you have a preference, you no longer can just invest in your life by donating it, because now
Mm,
you want something.
yeah.
Thank you so
Pleasure.
much. You can always come back up, of course, if you want. Um, we did get through. We did read through that, but yeah, beautiful, wonderful, and I love it when we can look at two together, because when we looked at seven and we talked about not having a preference, how does that relate to this? Now we see if we have a preference, then I can't be content with being. And by being content with being without requiring comparison or praise, right? Like yes, you might get it, sure. You may get comparison or praise. You may get praise. You may be compared. But welcome back, Julie.
You're welcome.
Um so you may get comparison or praise, but you don't require it. It's not, you're not going in with the preconceived idea that you're going to get it. And when we look at these two words, comparison or praise, comparison usually means, oh well, you didn't do it good as Julie, right? Like, oh, I didn't do it as good as Julie, and now it's like, oh well, let me try and be better. No, you did just fine. They're comparing you. That's on them. That's their
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
It's like now you're having the experience of being compared. Look at that. Don't look at don't look at having to, whatever, like, put a stint in somebody better than Julie.
But yeah, you're right. I think the thing that really shoots out at me is as soon as you have a preference. For me, that means as soon as you find yourself with a preference, then you are looking to steer the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that then takes away from really what was there for you. Um, like I said, when I went over to my daughter's at Christmas time, I had a preference, but my preference was that everything would be lovely and rosy. But along with that, then I was saying that in saying I had a preference, that there was something that I didn't want.
Right.
So that was introducing that whole scenario and my
Hmm.
preconceived idea of what I didn't want was.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, when I let go of it completely, of preference, then the experience was new. I was open, and it just happened to turn out that it was wonderful. But that was
Yeah.
with no steering, no force from me, no preconceived ideas of how people will speak, what they will do, how things will wind up, and the scenario of maybe the experience itself. None of that, no projection.
Right.
It was just an open thing. I had no preference. I was just going to show up. That's
Yeah.
all I was going to do. Show up. And it
Show
worked.
up.
It was true. Yeah.
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 And that's the thing. If you were to have shown up with the preference,
Mm,
none of the actions, none of the outcome of the day would have been different, but the way you
percent.
perceived it
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
have been. And it would have, and if you would have said, I want everything to be rosy, like you said, it's just like, whoa. Well, if I create the opposite of everything by engaging in a preference, because there is the law of opposites.
Yeah.
You can't know you're tall until you experience being short.
Yes.
You can't know it's rosy until you're sure what sucks. Now if you say, hey, I'm going to go here and it's just all going to be what it is, I'm going to be content with being,
Yeah.
and not require anything, not require, oh, this is better than that, this is your comparison, this is good,
Yeah.
this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, or praise, oh, you did so good, da, 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 da. Thank you for
Mm.
coming. So many people, like I talked to someone this morning who was like, I wrote a message to someone and they didn't respond. It's just like,
And?
That's yeah, like, well, that's okay. They didn't respond. So them not responding is your experience. Stop thinking that they had an experience in which they didn't respond because they
Yeah,
may very well have in their timeline. But
yeah,
you in your timeline did not receive a response. And so stop thinking that you're the victim of their actions and start recognizing your experience.
lovely. Absolutely prime example that is of what I was trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah,
have to
sure.
be here. Be content with being like recently I've been, and I don't know if you were here earlier when I was talking about this, but I have been really disgusted with both production and consumption. I don't want to produce anything. Like even coming on here and doing Tao of the Day is me producing something. And it's like, ugh, it's just more
Yeah,
garbage
yeah,
for the
I
world.
I've got that vibe off you actually. I have picked
Yeah.
that up. Yeah,
And so it's kind of like, ugh, this is garbage, and it's fine. I'm fine making it because I wrote this Dow, and I was actually looking at my Dow the other day, and I was thinking maybe I won't publish it at all because I feel like publishing it might reduce it to just another piece of
another
garbage in
day.
the world. you know and I was like, like if I end up in this job at the education center, I'll probably or at the arts center, I'll probably produce it, and it'll be fine, and I'll put it out in the world, da, da, da. but i'm
Mm.
but i'm really in this place of like, ugh, garbage. It's all garbage. Like even what I'm doing, it's like, yes, what I'm doing is great, woo woo woo, but so
Yeah,
so what? So what? And it's really interesting as I sort of like get there, I have to remind myself that that which is going on within my body, that which is going on outside of my window is infinitely more interesting than anything that is on the internet. And
I have
interesting
a yes, yes,
and I'll be honest, I have to remind myself of that because the internet is so enticing.
yeah,
And the internet is full of this, and like, this connection is beautiful, but we have this
mm,
connection anyway.
yes,
Now, that is within me and within you, and can I have that connection be and then this doesn't mean I don't want to ever see anybody or hang out with anybody or talk to anybody or anything like that. It doesn't mean that at all, but it's like, can I be filled by this connection without having to, like, physically make that connection?
yeah.
And
You
that's kind
can.
of, yeah, what's that?
I think that you can,
Oh,
though.
absolutely.
I know so because,
Yeah.
like I said to you as I first came on, there was something I can't remember what it was now, but it's something that made me think about you
Yeah.
and the thought process is a lovely feeling. That
Hmm.
I was in a moment where I was thinking about Martin John, and it was a lovely connection that I had with you that you didn't even know about. So it is
Right. I
possible.
didn't I didn't I wasn't conscious. I wasn't like proto conscious of, right, in my mind, but some part of me was aware of it,
Yes.
you know? And if I am meditating or if I am in a space, like, there are times where, I can be aware of it. And then that may very well be why I decided to do Tao of the Day at this moment.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yeah.
so so what causes all of this? We can't know. This is why I always tell people, don't ask why. Receive the gift.
Yeah.
Because when
I
we
feel
ask why,
like
what's that?
what I'm feeling like at the moment is that you were water
Yeah.
and you were just nourishing as you went along and you didn't even know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, don't tax things. Allow them to be what they are as they
Mm.
are. And as we do that, we realize that all of this production and consumption is just less and less important. And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, it's like, as Dr. Ralph for over a year been telling me, stop talking about it, Stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. You don't need to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm and I've come to a place where I'm like, oh, I see that. Like there was fear before, and I did feel the fear, and I expressed the fear to him, you know. But this moment, I can see that. Oh yeah, it's all stupid,
It's
and I
fantastic
get it.
as well when you when you come
Absolutely,
to that. It
absolutely.
is it gives you a little chuckle, to be honest with you.
It
It
does.
does.
It does.
It's because
Absolutely.
all things are play.
It is.
All things are play. You know, and like you said, when you were looking out your window and you're seeing things that are far more interesting in it, and the fact that your body works the way it does and your mind works the way it does is also fascinating and wonderful because it is. And then you
Right.
realize that this is play. So when you think of it that way, you can start to enjoy it again.
Right. And and again, like I
Yeah.
was telling this to somebody. I don't know if I said that today or somebody else. Like, like there's, a cookie and a salad. The salad is good for you, but you need some strength to choose the salad over the cookie because the cookie is good now, in terms of like all the sugar and all the
Yeah.
spike, all that kind of stuff that you're gonna get. But the salad is good for you in the long term. Now, you have to be able to choose between the two. The internet is the cookie, and the window or my meditation is the salad. And it's like,
Yeah.
how do we have like and you put these in front of people and they're going to choose the cookie unless they're attached to the identity of eating the salad, and then they eat the salad, but that's still the cookie, you know what I mean?
Well, me and you, I'd like to say this on your behalf as well, because this is what you represent to me when I have to choose the salad. Because I'm always going to play the long game. I'm going to try and go for the salad. But you are the most eloquent salad dressing. You are the most beautiful
Oh.
tasting, refreshing, enticing salad dressing.
Oh, well, thank you. It is it
Pleasure.
is it is it is so I always want to make the hard choice, and I would love to be able to help other people see the deliciousness of making the hard choice,
Yeah.
and because it is delicious. It's so delicious to make the hard choice, and it is unfortunate when we choose the cookie. I mean, it's not bad.
I think to sort of just to coin a phrase here, or just to say something that
Yeah.
I often say to you, and I just wanted people to understand this salad dressing that you are, is when I first came along onto wisdom, I looked for to wisdom because I wanted to see what other people's perspectives and things were on living life, all sorts of subjects and spirituality and such like. And then I met this gentleman who was my ultimate salad dressing. And he said, "Why are you looking around at everything else? Why are
Yeah.
you looking around at everything else, Julie? What about who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? Let's see if you can recognize who you are." And
That's a
that changed my life, Martin John.
oh,
So
and
never,
and
ever
and
say it's not
and
worth
I'm
it,
telling
because
you,
it
and I'm
so
telling
is.
you that like you are so much more today than you can have ever been looking outside of yourself.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
you would have had protocols, and you would have had books, and you would have had knowledge, and you would have had all of those things, but you wouldn't have had the thing that is so irreplaceable and so, yeah, I mean, you can't translate you can't there's no way of boxing that up and delivering it somewhere. Like, you are so powerful in just being,
Yeah. And that's
I'm
all,
so
yeah, that's
grateful.
every single person that finds themselves. But I have to say, if I had to put my finger on the button and press the correct button for where I am today, I would say it was that sentence with that gentleman there. He is my
Mm.
salad dressing.
Well, I am grateful for that, and I appreciate being part of the hard path. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really glad that you've taken it. It's so beautiful. Well,
Take care.
thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure. Carry on being
Absolutely.
you, Martin John Garcia, because there are plenty more me's out there. I love
Yeah.
you.
Love you.
Take care.
Bye bye. Lois is gonna join me if she's still on. I know she jumped up a little bit ago. What's going on, girl?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing? It's like we only talk once a week now.
I know. Okay, at least we talk.
Hey, hey. And
Okay.
I'm always holding you in my heart because like you like so many of my wisdom buddies, you, Kelly, Julie, Andy, like all of like I'm just loving you guys, like it's all so special.
Hey, but you know the feeling is mutual. You only feeling us, but you what's in you.
That's
So
right, that's right.
to
It's
that to
and
that
I'm
level that it's in you.
That's right,
Okay.
absolutely.
So yeah, so that's you doing the damn thing.
Mm-hmm. I know, and it's great to be able to see myself in so many of,
Yes.
and you are definitely one of those. So,
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I love you too, Judy, so much. Because you just sent me a message in the back. Because
oh, good.
I love hearing her smile. I just love hearing her
Yeah,
smile.
it
You can
just comes
hear her
through.
smile.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
that's no difference from you either.
Oh,
You
okay.
can hear that.
I never think about that. I know you can hear my. I can you can feel the joy. I can know you can do that, but her. It's like almost I can see her smiling when she's smiling.
Yeah.
So I think that that's so beautiful. But yeah. So what are you talking about? With your dog? You saying you ain't gonna publish it?
No, no, no. I'm most likely gonna publish it. I've just been looking over the last couple weeks at this at my frustration with consumption, and that has leaked into a frustration over production as well.
Hmm.
And so there's just it's just a conversation I'm having with myself. I am going to publish it. But it like I'm seeing it in a new way right now, and the idea of like, putting it in the world, interesting, and like and and I'm seeing how beautiful what I made is, and I don't want to um and like there are times when I look at the world and I'm like, is that where I want to put this?
But see,
Like,
the thing is that you were impregnated with an idea. It's been in gestation. Now
that's
it's
right.
fully formed and developed, and
Yep.
now it must be released without attachment. Just like I
Right.
had to release my babies physically from my body, and they had to detach them from me. You
Right.
got
It
to
has
let
to
it
be
go and
itself.
let it, and then you got to let it go into the world and do what it's going to do, because you wouldn't have been inspired to do it if it wasn't supposed to go out and do something. Now, to sit there and hold the baby longer than you're supposed to, at least in my friend's case, she held her baby longer than she was supposed to, and her heart enlarged, and the baby was not viable, and the
Mm,
baby did not make it. Okay,
yeah.
so you
No,
were inspired.
and I absolutely agree with that. And when I do put it out in the world, and like hopefully I get this job and can fund kind of self-publishing this, because I don't want to go through all the steps of trying to get a publisher. I just want to just make it easy, and I want to let
Okay.
it go, just like you're saying. I just want to put it out in the world, tell people about it, and then it's out there. It's fine. I'm good, and then I can make my app and do other stuff and all that kind of thing. But it's about like releasing it in a way that I am attached, and that's something that I'm not interested in doing.
Okay, all right. Because I just want to make sure.
No,
But
you're
you
gonna
also
get it.
said,
You're gonna get it.
I'm listening, man. I'm listening, man. You also said that. Oh shoot. It was about the thing, the baby, and it's a baby. Da, 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 da. Golly, I can't think of it now. It's gonna come back up again as I
Okay.
talk to you.
Yeah.
But you said something else.
I,
That, oh yeah, you said that didn't feel like consuming or producing or whatever, and you feel in some type of way.
yeah.
Now that feeling right there is something that needs to go. A rabbit hole needs to be dug, and you need to search that out
Oh,
because you need
I'm
to.
looking.
If
I've been
that if
feeling
that
this
is a
way for a couple
limiting
weeks.
something that's limiting you from producing or holding you back from receiving, and either way you're holding yourself hostage to this stagnation, and you can't do that because we can be patient and wait, but we've got to be busy doing something else. But if we don't want to consume and we don't want to produce, then we're in stagnation.
Well,
So we got.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
Hmm.
Because one, I'm looking at it, of course,
Okay, yeah, I know
and
you're looking at it.
and two, you know, not producing and not consuming, and it's not like, I mean, I've been eating a lot less than I usually. I've been, drinking less beverages and eating less and doing all of these things less.
Hmm.
Um, and but that, but in my doing, I am doing in this moment, meaning like I am going out in my garden and I'm doing all of this, like I'm spending time like being, like going for a walk, or being in my garden and pulling weeds and grapevine and all of this stuff. So there's a lot of
Okay, the
stuff.
way I guess I went on the vibration of the sound of what you said when you were talking to Julie. It sounded like you
Yeah, no, like there is a lot going on. There is
in
no
a
stagnation.
holding pattern.
Yeah, there
On
is no holding pattern. Nothing is stagnant, but everything, but I'm, like I am, like when I wake up, I don't, or, like yesterday, I think I was on my computer for like 20 minutes. And
Mhm.
it was like my day was full. It just
Right,
wasn't full of that.
of
You know,
devices. Yeah, I understand. Martin John, I ain't been on this app. This morning I got on this app. Okay,
yeah,
I
no,
wasn't
I
on
hear
the app
you. I hear
yesterday.
you.
I wasn't really on the app the day before that. I caught kudos finally last night after
Hmm.
not having catched it for about a week and a half. So
And
I'm.
I think I'm just sensitive to what's happening energetically, and I think there is a pulling away from overconsumption, and I think there is a pulling away from like overproduction. And that doesn't mean that these things aren't going to happen. It just means I'm aware of what's going on within my body as I
There it
go into
is.
this, and I am very aware of it, and I speak about it, and I'm not, and even though I speak about it, it's been 2 weeks of my sort of like, oh, let's look at this. What's going on? This feels interesting. Wow, I don't like that. Well, why don't I like that? What is that?
Yeah,
Like,
where that
like,
that's the part.
where is that
Where is
coming
that
from?
coming from?
Right. And
Where
so
is
like
that not
I'm
like, yeah. And you
so
got
just
sometimes we got to take it back to the root and say, okay, okay, I felt that. Okay, well, when was the first time I felt this funky
right.
kind of some type of way feeling? And when we
Right.
get there, then we're able to clean and clear that stuff up because sometimes we're our subconscious is aware of way more than what our conscious is aware of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and
And
if
when
and
I
it.
read number 7 today, right, the wisdom of not having a preference, I
Mm-hmm.
all like, okay, that's what I need to meditate on today. This idea of like you don't have a preference.
Right.
You can sit and you can do, but if you're frustrated at something, that means you have a preference. So
Mhm.
don't allow yourself to get drawn into all of these sorts of things, and you can
Yes.
just let go, like be here, like be present with this. And so
Yeah.
that's really, so when I talk about that, it's like, like these are like you're right, there is feelings of like pull back completely, but that's not really what I do. Like
Okay.
in some of my words it does sound that way, because like sometimes that's the initial feeling. The initial feeling is like, I don't want any of this. and then you're like,
Well,
okay,
that's what I heard. That's what I heard. I'm like, wait, what's happening?
check
Wait.
yourself, and I'm gonna, and I do that all the time, right? Like, like I'll check myself and I'll make sure that like what I'm talking about isn't some garbage, like, but that, like I am in that early stage of like pull back, and then it's like, well, you're not gonna really pull back.
Well, you also got to realize this too. This is season. And
Yeah.
this is and before the baby gets birth, before the mama gives birth of any beast or human, we go through a nesting period.
Mm-hmm.
We start preparing the roost for the incumbent.
That's right.
And
That's
we get
right.
and we don't go nowhere. We're laying down. We're real close to home, and we're making sure all the little particulars are in orders and stuff like that. So this ambivalence or whatever this is that you were talking about, because I don't think it's resistance to yourself. It's
No, no,
probably
no,
it's
no.
just part. It's part. It's I was trying to get. I just I said all that to get here. It's season, and I because I couldn't remember what I was gonna say. It's a
Oh,
season, and it's just the season of your new nesting this idea. And when you're nesting, you want it to come, but you also don't want it to come because you know there's going to take some effort and some some work,
yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, you
to
got to birth
produce
it.
it. Because
Like,
you got to birth
and
it.
so,
Yeah, you got
yeah.
to birth
So
it.
all of that to
Yeah,
be
and
said.
so you're gonna have that ambivalence. I want the baby to get here, but I don't want to go through that.
No.
But I wanted to get, but I don't want to go. And that's part of that nesting process. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to say. I'm like, how did I forget what I was saying? I
Yeah.
told you
No,
if we
and
kept talking, I would remember.
yeah, and I'm, you know me. I'm just sitting
Yeah.
here observing it, taking it in, and
Hmm.
sometimes we're just in a state in which I say shit like I might not even do this because of that. But that's just me, kind of like there's everything I do is filled with like stillness, so it'll come.
That'll come. Okay. Oh my goodness,
So
we didn't talk the whole thing. I wanted number 44 because the 44 keeps popping up.
44 is the influence of excess,
Okay.
fame or
Well, what
integrity.
were you talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fame or integrity. Which of these do you focus on seeing and obtaining? Possessions or fulfillment? In which do you spend your time investing? Success or failure? Of which has offered you the most growth? Under the influence, you spend yourself, accumulating only loss and regret. Fulfill your needs and be content. When you know excess is excessive, you'll be open to receiving harmony.
Yeah, that's basically what you kind of, but
Yeah,
you were
that's
saying about
exactly what I was. That's exactly what we're
production versus whatever. I can't even remember what I just said, what you just
talking
said, but
about. It's
because
the
I'm
season,
sleepy now because
and
I've been up a long time.
oh, girl.
It's my nap time. But yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, that's so when we're talking about success and failure and all that other kind of stuff. To me, I learn much more out of my missed MISSED takes. I don't consider anything a failure at all
right. Yeah,
because I'm always learning from everything. Now, the hardest lessons have been learned through the mistakes, but I won't necessarily say that those were the greatest. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
Because some lessons I learned that were great, I didn't have to go through no hard stuff at
right.
all.
Yeah,
Okay, and then but I can say the most memorable were the ones that I quote unquote considered hard. But right now, in this part of my life, I don't consider any of them hard. And I'm not. It's for me. It's not about fame. It's not about fortune. It's about having my needs met as long as my needs are met, and I'm taking care, and I'm doing it. I ain't looking for nobody else to do it for me. I ain't looking for no Superman, nobody come flying on down in the sky, and coming on the white horse. It's about me taking care of my needs for me because can't nobody go to the bathroom but me, for me, but me.
that's right.
So it's
Right.
up to me to take care of my not only my physical vessel, but my emotional vessel and my spiritual vessel and my energetic vessel.
Right.
And because when I get those in balance, and I'm good. So for me, it's like no favor and fortune. And then if as I do that, I can share with other people.
Mhm.
And that's what I do. And I come on here for fun. This is my fun. This is me
Yeah.
having fun. This is Lois having fun. If anybody been
Mhm.
listening to me all morning, this is Lois having fun because I've been on here for a little while now. So I'm like, no, it's time to go to sleep, Lois. But I
Yeah.
hadn't been on here in a while. So when I get on here, I just get like, oh, this is so much fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you, Martin John. I
Oh,
appreciate that.
absolutely. And
And
I love
you
you. And
know,
I'm so.
I love you too.
Have you found any Ethiopian in your area?
No, not yet, because I really I've been focused on my business plans and,
Oh,
and
good.
and getting stuff together and putting stuff together and balancing out the housework with the
Oh, yeah.
recreation with the spiritual with the fun, this part of the fun. And
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want any area to be leaning too hard anyway, because that'll throw something else out of balance. So that's why I'm not here as much as I was, because I'm balancing everything else too.
I see. Well, always have my support and love, and then we'll be in touch.
You do too. Thank you. I appreciate you. Bye.
Bye bye. Well, I wanted to go back into 44 a little bit because we look at this and we like fame and integrity, possessions or fulfillment, success or failure. Now we can look at that. We look at fame, and possessions and success. Those are the three things that, many people try to emulate, try to receive. But this is about the influence of excess. And the line after we do those comparisons, fame or integrity, possessions or fulfillment, success or failure, is under the influence, you spend yourself. So when you receive fame and you become under the influence of your fame and you need to go out and get more, you need to go out and get patted on the back all the time, what you're doing is you're spending yourself. You're spending like money yourself. And you're only going to accumulate loss and regret, because fame, like if we look at like even Bruce Willis or whatever, right? He was on top of the world, had his fame, and now he's deteriorating slowly, slowly, slowly. And that's hard. That's got to be hard. He's got to be aware of that happening. Possessions, having possessions, like when you're under the influence of your possessions, you need more and more and more. It needs you bigger house and bigger car, bigger stuff. But you're spending yourself because you're looking outside of yourself for this thing that gives you fulfillment, that gives you, like, if your fame fulfills you, you're spending yourself. If your possessions fulfill you, you're spending yourself. If your success fulfills you, you're spending yourself. But when you have integrity, or when you have fulfillment as a thing that is part of you, possessions or fulfillment, in which do you spend your time investing? That's a great way of looking at it. Are you spending your time investing and trying to get possessions because you're having a job and all of this stuff? Or are you investing and trying to be fulfilled? Like, and over the last couple of weeks, as I was telling Lois, like, I've been investing in just being. And like, I've been spending time in my garden. I'm getting off the internet. I'm doing all this stuff. And I don't have to produce anything. But that doesn't mean I'm stagnant, because I'm not, because I am producing. I am producing in every moment of my life. I'm just not producing something that can be consumed. So under the influence of these things, success, possessions, and fame, you spend yourself, and you spend yourself like money. It's like you are trading yourself for fame. You're trading yourself for possessions. You're trading yourself for success, just like you trade money for products. And then here in the last section, it says, fulfill your needs and be content. What are your needs? My need is to keep the weeds down. So I'm going to go and pull weeds. I'm content with that. My need is to keep the grapevine from getting out of control. So I pull the grapevine and I'm content. When you know excess is excessive, you'll be open to receiving harmony. And that's what I'm here receiving. It's harmony. When I feel frustrated at something, of course I look at it and I do all of those things, that Lois and I spoke about, but I'm able to stay open and receive harmony, receive balance, and know that I'm being cared for, know that I'm being held, know that this is bringing me to the next place. All right. If anybody has a number between 1 and 81, please step up. Love to hear you guys. Love to talk with you guys a little bit about Tao. But if not, no big deal. And I will be signing off. My name is Martin John. I am the recovery mentor. I love talking with you guys about this sort of stuff. Obviously, it didn't sound like I love doing it, but I do. It's wonderful for me. And it helps me all the time. So I appreciate you guys listening. And if you benefit from the work that I do here, please consider sending a tip through Venmo at martinjohn_Garcia. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.